Hi, this is one of 3 short videos that we're going to do this week. This is week 2, and today we're going to do an evaluation of hematocrit. Hematocrit is something that is commonly tested when you go for a blood count. It's critical to your health. Your plasma makes up the majority of your blood, but your red blood cells, when packed, make up about 40%. So not much less than half of your blood is actually the red blood cells. And that's what hematocrit is the percentage of your blood which is red blood cells. Now, average hematocrits, 40 is a pretty good number, to say for people in general. Males have higher hematocrits than females. A male is likely to be 38 to maybe 45 or something like that. Every place you look, it'll be different. On my PowerPoint, it's a little bit different. Women, more like 35 to 42. If I were going to give an average hematocrit for females, I'd probably pick 38. An average hematocrit for males, I'd probably pick 42, somewhere in that mid-range of their hematocrits. Testosterone gives males more erythropoietin, more red blood cell production in your bone marrow. And so that's about it. Now, some females will have higher and some males will have higher. You can probably go up to, 47, maybe even as high as 50 before you might be considered a male, not for a female, to have polycythemia, which means you have too many red blood cells. Anemia is if you have too few. So it's a little bit situational. A female who has 34 at sea level is probably okay. A male that has 34 would always be considered a little bit too low. He should be, at least 36, 38, something like that. The female will have, if a female has 47, that would be considered really unusually high, whereas for a male, it would be, on the upper end of what could be really considered to be normal. Another thing, as we mentioned before, that in the lecture, that will change this amount is your altitude. If you're at sea level, there's lots of oxygen down here. Your blood gets well oxygenated, and therefore you're not stimulated to make a lot of extra erythropoietin to make more red blood cells. But if you go to high altitude, you have a lot less oxygen up there. It's a smaller percentage. It's the same percentage of oxygen in the atmosphere, but there's less air altogether, so you don't have as much oxygen up there. Your kidneys will sense that. They'll make more erythropoietin, and you make more red blood cells. That's why altitude training works. If you go to altitude and train for a while, you'll actually build up more red blood cells. I moved to South Florida from Taos, New Mexico, which is at 7,400 feet. And my hematocrit, when I was there, tended to be around 45 or 46%, which is on the high end of normal for males, but that would be very normal for a male at 7,400 feet because you're making more red blood cells on purpose. If I had 46 or 47% down here at sea level, it would be considered a little bit high. So normal range varies a little bit, a little lower for females, a little higher for males. Polycythemia is above the range. Anemia is too low. Neither one of those is good. Too many red blood cells and too few is not good. You're supposed to have the right amount. So to determine hematocrit, I'm going to take a couple of blood samples. I'm going to take 2 so my centrifuge balances out here, and spin it. And since red blood cells are heavier than plasma, they will pack at the bottom ends of the capillary tubes. And then I'll show you how to do these hematocrits. So kind of like we started off, at least, you know, a couple of our other ones. I do a finger stick here. And yes, you're supposed to use a little alcohol on them. I already did that for mine. Get a nice blood blob going. Take my capillary tube and see how much of it I can fill up. It's easier to read these if you'll get it over half full. Okay, I think that's going to work for that one. See if I can put a little bit more in there. Now I take some clay and stick it in the bottom here, because that keeps the blood from coming out inside the centrifuge and making a huge mess. Well, it'll be interesting to see if that one even works. That one doesn't seem to be behaving properly. See if I can get this one to work better for me, because we want at least one of these to work. A little bit more blood flow here. And into the tube it goes. Into the tube it goes. Come on. One problem with these little sticker things, they don't really hurt, but they also don't make a very big hole. So sometimes you got to do it a couple of times to get enough blood out. More. More. Yeah. That's going to have to work. We're just going to have to put up with that. It's not the best, but that's okay. It's a lot easier to do it on somebody else than it is to do it on your own finger, because you can't hold the finger and the capillary tube at the same time very well. Okay, so here's my centrifuge, and I'm going to put, let's see, I've got here's that. I'm going to put one of the tubes in here. I'll put the other tube across from it. Okay. I have a feeling that one might pop loose during the process because it's the clay didn't go into it as well as I would like. This is supposed to go around here. It's not uncommon to have one of these tubes break on you during the process, and then you got some cleanup on aisle 8. Okay, there's that. And there's that. Sorry for this unprofessional camera work. Put the lid on. Put the top down. And then turn it on. And I'll let it spin for about 5 minutes. Meanwhile, I'll show you how to do the hematocrit in the first place. There's some sample tubes I've created already. Now here's a hematocrit chart. And of course, again, on this camera system, it comes out backwards, but it says calculating hematocrit. And it doesn't matter because really all you're doing is looking at, you put your capillary tube on here, and you see how high the blood goes, and then you see how high the red blood cells, the packed red blood cells go. You divide the little number by the big one, and it gives you the percentage. Okay, so, you know, if you get 40 for the total and 20 for the blood, 20 divided by 40 is 50%, is 0.5. And therefore, your hematocrit would be 50%. So, sorry, I may be talking so loud it's distorting this camera thing, but the centrifuge is kind of loud. So here I have my first little sample, and I'm going to put the bottom of the blood on the black line. I'm going to look up here and see that the total blood, the plasma, the total blood goes up to 45. And the red blood cells go to 17. So I would do what? 17 divided by 45. 17 divided by 45 is 38%. Okay, for that subject, that could actually be considered normal, whether it's male or female. It'd be a little bit low for a male, but it would be within the normal range. 38% for a male is okay. 38 for a female is right in the middle of her range, so that would be fine. Let me try another one. Okay, look at this one. Take a look at it, see if you can see what it is, knowing that the numbers are backwards for you. So this is 40, 30, 20, 10. Okay, so the total blood goes up to 40, and the red blood cells go up to 23. So we got 40 for the total, 23 for the red blood cells. Divided by 23. 40 divided by 23. Come on, it's not working. 40 divided by 23 equals 12. My calculator's not working. 40 divided by 23. Try a different calculator. It's giving me numbers in the millions. Okay, 57%. 57%. What would that be? Well, for either male or female, that would be polycythemia. That would be too high. 40 divided, or, oh, I know. I did it backwards. That's what you'll do on the test. Don't do that. All of you were saying, Dr. Stewart, it's the small number by the big one. 23 divided by 40. Cheap calculator. 57.5, okay, about 58%, okay? So let's start over again. Remember, you have to divide the small number by the big one. Otherwise, you get a number that's greater than 1. That can't be. It has to be a percentage. So 23 divided by 40. That is a mistake some of you will make on the lab practical, because you'll have one of these on there. And if I can make that mistake, you can certainly make it. So small number by the big one, 57.5, 58%. And that is polycythemia. That is too high for either a male or a female. It's outside the normal range. And the third sample that I made up, here we go. This time I'll calculate it right, I promise. Okay, it looks like 43 is the total. Can you see that? 43 is the total. And we've got 17 is the red blood cells. 43 and 17. So what do? Not like I did last time. You do 17 divided by 43. 17 divided by 43. 39. Okay, 39.5. So that's about right. Okay. Now let's look and see if any of my samples came out okay. Ah, they both did. So we're going to take one of these. This one's in pretty good shape. We're going to put this on here, just like we did the other ones. And you'll see that the actual plasma is a little harder to see than it was on my fake plasma. I put vinegar in my fake plasma ones because you can see it better. Okay, but this is coming out, the top of that is 33, and the bottom is 14. 33 is the total, and 14 is the red blood cells. Small number by big one, 14 divided by 33. Aha, my hematocrit is 42.5. 42.5%. That's right in the sweet spot in the normal range for a male at sea level. So I'm not deteriorating too badly yet. At least not in my blood. So that's hematocrit. Know what it is, know what the normal ranges are, and see how relatively easy it is, even without somebody to help do your finger stick for you, how relatively easy it is to determine your hematocrit simply by centrifuging your sample of your blood.